Roger Federer reportedly wired $50 million not to buy a champion, but simply for the chance to sit across from one, and when that meeting finally happened, the entire tennis world erupted. A retired Swiss legend and billionaire met face-to-face with 20-year-old Filipino tennis star Alexandra Eala, a rising warrior who had just dismantled some of the world's best players on live television. 4 years their paths had moved separately, but suddenly those two destinies collided in one unforgettable moment. No leaks, no build-up, and no one expecting the storm that followed. Yet the instant a single photo from that meeting appeared online, the internet exploded and the excitement hasn't slowed since. Fans sensed that something historic had taken place behind those closed doors, a moment that could change everything people thought they knew about the future of tennis. That a strange kind of silence filled the stadium, the kind that happens when something truly unbelievable unfolds in front of thousands of people. It wasn't the quiet of polite applause or a routine pause in the match, but a stunned stillness where the entire crowd seemed to forget how to breathe. In March 2025 in Miami, the hardcourt arena hosted what looked on paper like a nightmare draw for an unknown qualifier. Ranked world number 140, entering with a wild card, holding 0 WTA titles and no previous Grand Slam quarterfinal appearances, Alexandra Eala had absolutely no reason by traditional tennis logic to survive beyond the early rounds. Yet when she stepped onto the court, she carried something that rankings could never measure: the weight of a nation, fierce determination in her eyes, and a complete, technically devastating game paired with an unbreakable mindset. Her opponent, Iga Swiatek, the reigning world number 1 and multiple Grand Slam champion, often compared to legends like Serena Williams at her peak, stood on the other side of the net as the overwhelming favorite. The script seemed already written and the result inevitable. But Eala never received that script. With ruthless precision and breathtaking control, she dismantled the top seed 6-3, 6-2, leaving the tennis world stunned. Swiatek walked off the court wearing an expression rarely seen in professional tennis: pure bewilderment after being systematically outplayed by a player most casual fans hadn't even heard of just days earlier. Within minutes, social media exploded as Filipino fans flooded every trending platform with pride and excitement, pushing hashtags celebrating Eala's greatness across the internet. Within minutes of the final point, millions of posts flooded social media, overwhelming every algorithm in less than 40 minutes. Even the president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., released a congratulatory message before Alexandra Eala had even finished her post-match press conference. But Miami still had more tests waiting for her. Next came Madison Keys, the powerful baseline hitter and former US Open champion who had built a reputation by defeating top players across different eras of the sport. Yet the outcome remained the same. Eala dismantled Keys with a bold mix of precision serving and classic serve and volley tactics that seemed pulled from another generation of tennis, an approach many modern analysts had long declared obsolete. As she advanced through the quarterfinals and into the semifinals, the draw kept opening up, and the tennis world began to realize something extraordinary was happening. Then, at 11:47 p.m. Central European Time, 8 simple words appeared online: "She is the future of world tennis." The message came from the verified account of Roger Federer, widely regarded as one of the greatest players in tennis history. There were no hashtags, no promotions, and no tagging, just a direct statement aimed at a 20-year-old player from Quezon City who had just stunned the world by defeating the reigning number 1 on primetime American television. The reaction was immediate. Within 9 minutes, the post generated more than 40,000 interactions. Within an hour, it surpassed 2 million. Within 6 hours, international networks such as ESPN, Sky Sports, and beIN Sports were running full segments analyzing why Federer, who had largely remained publicly silent about active players for over a year, had chosen this exact moment and this particular player to break that silence. Tennis analysts rushed to interpret the statement. Former professionals offered theories, and podcasts that rarely discussed women's tennis suddenly released entire episodes analyzing those 8 words from the Swiss legend. But in their race to assign meaning, most analysts missed a crucial detail. Federer had been quietly following Eala's development for far longer than anyone realized. Behind the scenes, his scouts had already been paying close attention to her progress long before the rest of the tennis world caught on. Roger Federer maintains a quiet network of talent evaluators who feed insights into his growing tennis and business empire, and according to insiders, that network had flagged Alexandra Eala nearly 18 months earlier. It wasn't simply about her results, it was about the way she moved, the geometry of her racket preparation, and her instinctive approach to the net. Federer's longtime coaching circle reportedly noticed something strikingly familiar in her style, a structure and rhythm similar to the attacking, elegant brand of tennis Federer himself perfected during his dominant years at Wimbledon championships. To them, Eala wasn't just another talented prospect. She represented a philosophy aggressive, creative, all-court tennis that Federer had championed throughout his career but had gradually seen fade as modern tennis leaned heavily toward baseline power and relentless physical grinding. About 36 hours after Federer's viral message, veteran coach Paul Annacone, who famously worked with both Pete Sampras and Federer during their championship peaks, appeared on Tennis Channel Live. His reaction briefly stunned the broadcast. Annacone explained that Federer does not casually make bold public statements about players. In his words, when Federer recognizes something special, it means his internal evaluation system, one of the sharpest minds the sport has ever seen, has already reached a firm conclusion. When he says she's the future, Annacone suggested, he means exactly that. Meanwhile in Miami, inside a quiet hotel suite overlooking the city, Eala reportedly watched the clip with her coaching team on a laptop. Those present said she replayed the moment twice, taking it in silently. For a young player from Quezon City suddenly at the center of global attention, the weight of those words carried enormous significance. In the world of elite sports endorsements, numbers like $50 million rarely represent a simple deal, they signal a declaration to the entire industry. They tell competitors, sponsors, and media outlets that a particular athlete belongs in a different category, judged by a new standard of cultural and commercial impact. Among the first global brands to recognize this potential was Nike. The company's women's tennis division had already been tracking Eala since her junior Grand Slam successes, but the events of Miami in 2025 transformed that quiet interest into something far bigger, as the tennis world began to realize that a new global star might be emerging. The events in Miami quickly turned quiet interest into urgent priority. Within just 72 hours of Alexandra Eala reaching the semifinals, multiple executives at Nike independently pushed her profile to the company's Elite Athlete Partnership Committee, the same group that once structured historic endorsement deals for legends like Serena Williams and Rafael Nadal. Nike's opening proposal to Eala's management was reportedly massive, $45 million over 8 years, a franchise athlete designation, a potential signature shoe line, and significant creative influence over marketing campaigns. It was considered one of the most aggressive initial offers the company had made to a women's tennis player since Williams' landmark contract renegotiation in 2003, but the situation shifted dramatically when Roger Federer and his circle entered the conversation through On Running, the Swiss performance brand Federer helped transform into a global athletic powerhouse. For several years, the company had been carefully building its presence in tennis, and Federer recognized that aligning the brand with the next potential superstar could instantly elevate its credibility within the sport. He believed Eala represented that opportunity and moved quickly. The counteroffer from On Running was even more striking: $50 million over 7 years, franchise status within the brand, an equity stake in the company's tennis division, and a creative partnership role rather than a traditional endorsement deal. The proposal included a groundbreaking clause that went far beyond typical sponsorship arrangements, signaling that the brand viewed Eala not just as an athlete, but as a long-term collaborator in shaping the future identity of its tennis division. The proposal included something no traditional endorsement framework had ever offered before: direct access to Roger Federer himself as a strategic mentor and occasional practice partner during special collaborative training sessions. That single clause instantly transformed the entire negotiation dynamic. Before agreeing to anything, however, the management team of Alexandra Eala requested one simple condition. She wanted a private, unmediated meeting with Federer himself. What happened next would ignite the tennis world. Soon after that meeting, a single photograph surfaced online. It showed Federer and Eala standing side by side inside what looked like a private indoor tennis facility, both carrying gear from On Running. They were smiling, not the staged smiles typical of promotional shoots, but relaxed, genuine expressions that suggested a shared understanding few others were part of. The image was reportedly posted without a caption by someone who had glimpsed them through a facility window. Within minutes, it exploded across global sports media. By 10 a.m., it had become one of the most discussed sports images on the internet. By noon, it had generated engagement levels rarely seen for tennis-related posts, and by mid-afternoon the reaction had divided the professional tennis world almost completely. Supporters celebrated wildly. Filipino communities around the globe rallied behind the moment, proudly sharing the story across social platforms. Federer chose her quickly became a viral phrase that expanded beyond tennis, sparking broader conversations about Asian representation, Pacific Islander visibility, and the growing recognition of Filipino talent in global sports. Fans posted emotional videos reacting to Eala's highlights from Miami, and athletes from various sports publicly praised her rise. Yet criticism appeared just as quickly. Some voices in European tennis media questioned whether Federer's involvement could disrupt the traditional competitive hierarchy of the sport. Anonymous insiders speaking through journalists suggested that Eala's success might still need time to prove itself beyond a single tournament run. Even former world number 4 Andrea Petkovic discussed the topic on a German sports podcast, raising questions about whether Eala had faced the strongest possible version of her opponents and whether the commercial hype surrounding rising stars sometimes moves faster than their competitive development. The debate spread rapidly through the tennis community, but through all of it, Eala herself remained completely silent. She issued no public response, posted no defensive statements, and offered no interviews addressing the criticism. While the world argued about her rise, she chose to let her tennis speak for itself, maintaining a quiet focus that only added to the intrigue surrounding her sudden emergence on the global stage. While the debate around her continued to grow, Alexandra Eala never publicly responded to the criticism. She didn't post defensive messages, didn't brief journalists, and didn't try to build a counter-narrative. Instead, she quietly absorbed every doubt and every skeptical comment and redirected that energy into her preparation and training. Her training logs in the weeks following the viral photograph told the real story: hours of disciplined work, relentless practice sessions, and a renewed focus on improving every dimension of her game. If you strip away the $50 million headlines, ignore the viral photo, and silence the noise of analysts, critics, and supporters, the situation reveals something much deeper than a simple endorsement deal. At its core, Roger Federer appeared to recognize in Eala something rare: a philosophical successor. Not merely a marketing figure or a demographic strategy, but a player who represented the same vision of tennis that Federer spent his entire career embodying. For years he had watched the sport gradually drift toward pure physical dominance and baseline power, while the artistry and technical elegance that once defined elite tennis slowly faded. That Federer's philosophy of the game was always about balance. Athleticism paired with elegance, power guided by precision, and aggression shaped by intelligence. In that vision, tennis becomes almost architectural. Every point is like a construction project, every rally a strategic conversation between two competing minds, and every shot chosen not just for the moment but for the chain of possibilities it creates several moves ahead. To those who understood that philosophy, the fascination with Eala was not only about results, it was about the way she played the game, and the possibility that a forgotten style of tennis might once again find its place at the center of the sport. In Roger Federer's private view of the sport, the modern baseline-dominated style, heavy topspin rallies, and relentless physical grinding had become extraordinarily effective but somewhat limited in artistry. While it produced results and commercial success, Federer believed it lacked the elegance and multidimensional creativity that once defined tennis's golden eras. What fascinated him about Alexandra Eala was that she appeared to play a far more complete version of the game. Her net instincts stood out in an era where many players rarely approached the net, and her willingness to mix serve and volley tactics with aggressive baseline play reminded observers of the techniques Federer himself used during his dominant runs at the Wimbledon Championships in the mid-2000s. Her court awareness, understanding angles, positioning, and timing suggested a strategic depth that her ranking at the time didn't fully capture. From that perspective, Federer's interest seemed less about marketing and more about philosophy. Through his connection with On Running, the partnership structure reportedly reflected that idea. Instead of a traditional endorsement model, the arrangement was designed more like a collaboration. One of its most unusual aspects was the equity component, which would give Eala an ownership stake connected to the brand's tennis division. In practical terms, that meant she wouldn't simply represent the brand, she would help shape its tennis identity, her playing style, competitive mindset, and vision of the sport becoming part of the brand's long-term direction. For the Philippines, the implications stretched beyond one athlete's career. Tennis infrastructure across much of Southeast Asia, training facilities, coaching networks, junior development systems, and tournament pathways often operates with far fewer resources than programs in Europe, the United States, or Australia. Because of that gap, many Filipino players have historically succeeded through extraordinary personal effort rather than through a powerful national development system. Discussions around Eala's rising global profile have therefore also highlighted the potential for greater investment in youth development and grassroots tennis in the Philippines. In that broader context, Federer's support for Eala was widely interpreted as more than admiration for a single breakthrough performance. To many observers, it looked like a belief in a player who might help revive a particular vision of tennis, one that blends artistry, intelligence, and athleticism, and perhaps inspire a new generation of players from regions that have rarely been at the center of the sport's global spotlight. In many ways, the moment simply confirmed what some insiders had already begun to suspect: Alexandra Eala wasn't climbing toward the top of professional tennis. She was already playing at that level, even if the rankings hadn't fully caught up yet. The viral photograph and the massive dollar figures dominated the headlines, but those details only captured the surface of the story. Beneath them was something much deeper: a philosophical investment in a particular vision of tennis and a developmental ripple effect that could influence the sport for decades. Through his support and partnership connected to On Running, Roger Federer appeared to send a generational signal not just to the tennis world, but especially to young athletes in the Philippines and across Southeast Asia. In regions where tennis infrastructure has historically lagged behind the systems of Europe or North America, the rise of a player like Eala carries symbolic power. It tells young players watching that global recognition is possible, even from places where the pathway has traditionally been much harder. History often takes time to correct the first narrative written around major moments in sport. Headlines focus on the spectacle, the viral image, the endorsement numbers, the sudden fame, but the deeper impact usually reveals itself years later through the players inspired, the system strengthened, and the style of play that shapes the next generation. Whether Federer's involvement was seen as bold mentorship, strategic vision, or a combination of both, one thing became clear: it forced the tennis world to pay attention to a player many had overlooked only weeks earlier, and perhaps that is the real significance of the moment. It wasn't just about a photograph or a contract. It was about recognition, of talent, of philosophy, and of the possibility that the future of tennis might arrive from somewhere the sport wasn't fully expecting.